And many people are experiencing a form of awakening. It's a spiritual experience as well. People think that mental illness is a curse, but the only reason why is because it's been presented that way. And people aren't told how to get through it. Every single client that I've had, no matter what their past, no matter what their level of success, and I've spoken to homeless people who lost everything and successful business owners, they all feel worthless. And I'm like, okay, that's a brainwashing here, because it's not possible for all of us to suddenly feel crap.
One thing I find interesting is I actually think that everybody suffers with mental illness to varying degrees. And it has, it's been such a taboo subject. As you mentioned, it's in its infancy, the study of it. And unfortunately, we spend more time and energy in guilt and fear and shame trying to hide it. However, every human being cannot escape these parts of us because it is part of the human experience. And I've shared similar experiences with you in my past of being a completely different person and also being at that edge of wanting it all to end. And I think it is such an amazing thing that there is a light inside of us that even at that darkest point still wants to go on. That is really incredible. And we need more and more people like you speaking transparently and speaking openly so that more people come out of the shadows and that they're willing to ask for help and to kind of let go of their past identities. And we're going to talk a little bit more about identities as we get into the book, but just any insights that you have on the realm of mental health in case somebody is new to it or a little bit afraid of it.
So the first preconception that I'd like to kind of hit in the head and destroy is the fact that mental ill health doesn't make sense, that people who suffer a psychotic break, they're just talking nonsense, rubbish, don't listen to them. Not true.
Right.
And if you start digging more and more, you will understand what the person that's deemed psychotic is actually trying to tell you. And many people are experiencing a form of awakening. It's a spiritual experience as well. People think that mental illness is a curse, but the only reason why is because it's been presented that way. And people aren't told how to get through it. It's like, oh, you're here, that's it, you're done. These meds, do this, and then people just sit there. If people like us 500 years ago would have been burned at stake. 100 years ago, we would be lobotomized. You got to ask yourself, why?
Right.
And the fact that many people whose paths never crossed, who come from completely different parts of the world, they say similar things, So it's time to investigate a little more and listen to people who might sound weird. But if you dig deeper, you're going to understand what their story is.
Yeah, I actually love that you just brought that up because it's something that I look at from like a large universal perspective. I'm that curious cat that's like, why? Why are things the way that they are, even though it's normal to everybody? It wasn't always this way. And I am and I do think about larger structures of control. And I think, like you were mentioning, that there is a component of spiritual awakening that is also occurring. And I think that makes people harder to control, right? If they're not programmable and if they are attuned to different extrasensory abilities or capacities or they just don't fit in the box, that there's something wrong with them. So I think that's very fascinating. And I'm curious what you have found in your journey as what do you see as the key to liberation so that we as a human species start to integrate more the emotional body and the mental body and not just become, like right now, we're just consumers, right? We're just programmed to consume and to work until we die. Like that's the program. That's the matrix. Yes. And I think that you have found a little window and a rabbit hole that you're starting to excavate and find some deeper meaning and deeper answers to life itself, I'm sure. So I'm really curious what you're finding specific to why do you think that's so considered dangerous, and why do you think people don't want to talk about it or deal with it?
People are afraid of the unknown. Yeah, the main issue is that people are afraid of anything that's unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Unknown culture, anything. Unknown lifestyle. People, oh, I don't know, it must be bad. But that's what we've been conditioned to do. And babies are not born mentally ill. Mm-hmm. It's the society that literally teaches us since we're wee babies that we suck, that we're worthless, mm-hmm. that unless, especially nowadays, and unless we have 1 million followers on Insta, this car, this house, we're worthless. Yeah. And that's something that I've learned. Every single client that I've had, no matter what their past, no matter what their level of success, and I've spoken to homeless people who lost everything and successful business owners, yeah, they all feel worthless. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, that's a brainwashing here, because it's not possible for all of us to suddenly feel crap.
I know. I saw that as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a big scam. This is a big hoax. And I think those of us that on some level reject the programming are considered different. And then that manifests in symptoms that is then identified as mental illness, because it is not, we don't fit the mold.